Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about how I perceive the nature of forgiveness, something that's sorely lacking in our society today. So, in truth, there is really nothing that anything or anyone can ever do to hurt you. Your true being is infinite, your true being is divine, and your true being is sacred. It is only when you are living through your ego mind or your egoic mind that you see people as other than they are. When you're living through your heart and you're seeing the true nature of people, you see everybody else as yourself, uh, and you see them as divine, and you have love and compassion for them. However, when you're living through the mind, you see everyone else as separate from yourself, and you see the things they do and you try and analyze them with your mind, and you create all of these false meanings and projections of what you think other people are doing based on your own baggage and your own belief systems and your own perceptions, uh, which is based on largely on what society and culture and your family taught you as you were growing up. So a lot of how we perceive what other people do uh, are based on thoughts that others taught us, which are also um, coming from their minds and not coming from their hearts. So when you see people through your mind, you cannot really truly see someone for who they are and how they are and what they are doing. Therefore, when hard times come along, especially in relationships or with family or with your partner or at work or something like that, when you see people doing things and they get angry or they get frustrated and they start to take it out, you think, or not you think, but a lot of people think that uh, that person is taking it out on you personally, or personally attacking you, or they interpret what the other person is doing in a very personal manner, and they take it in and they take it to heart, and they let it affect them, and they take it to their core, and then they hold on to it and they never let go of it. uh, and that can carry with you for a very long time, and it can really drain you for a very long time. So what forgiveness does uh, is it tests the level of compassion that you have as an individual. But more than that, it dispels the illusion of the mind of what you think a person could ever have done to you. And let's say somebody's in a very bad state of mind, and they start acting out and they start lashing out, and maybe they start yelling at you or calling you names or something like that, and you take it personally and you get offended. If you are living from your mind in that instant, uh, from your ego, you're going to take personally what that person says, and you're going to see that as an attack on yourself. And what you're going to do, or what can possibly be done in that situation, what a lot of people do, is they will create a negative attachment to that situation. And so picture yourself, and you have an energy cord coming from you, and so now you're angry with that person. So that energy cord vibrates or resonates at the level of anger, and it connects you to that other person. And so you've got all these energy cords coming out from you, all these attachments, these negative attachments that you've created with yourself and other people, based on your perception of what they did. So if that person was yelling at you, you take it personally if you're living through your mind or through your ego. But if you're living through your heart, you actually see that person as hurting and suffering, or maybe they're in a state of fear, and you see them maybe just as venting, and that you don't have to take it personally, and that maybe you can be there to help them, should they actually want help in that situation. And so in that moment, if you're coming from your heart, you're not taking that personally, and you're seeing the being for who they are, which is still divine and sacred. And there's no friction in the situation, and therefore, in the immediate situation, forgiveness is instantaneous, because you don't take personally what they're doing, so you don't create that negative energy cord, that negative attachment to that person. But when you're living through your mind, you create that negative energy cord, and that follows you. It doesn't follow you. It comes from you wherever you go. And so wherever you go in life, that negative energy cord that you have put out from your body is what you're going to attract back in. And the reason that you're going to attract that back in is so you can see the negativity that you are putting out, and you can learn how to deal with it. But most people don't see it that way. They see it as this other person hurt me, this other person did that to me, and it doesn't really work that way. And so what I see as forgiveness doing is it dispels that illusion, and it cuts through that negative energy cord that you've put out and attached yourself to that other person. So you're no longer sending that energy out. And so the way that I looked at forgiveness before was you were forgiving someone else for something that they had done, but really there's nothing that anything or anyone can ever do to you to truly hurt you unless you let them. And so when you send out that negative energy attachment or negative thought about that person, or however you want to look at it, the forgiveness cuts through the illusion that you have created in your own mind about what you think that person did in the past to you, and it dispels the illusion of the past, so you're not constantly reliving the past through your programs in your mind all the time. So I know it can be tough sometimes, and emotions fly very high in certain situations, and it does take a little bit of practice. So you start with the little things. If you're not ready to forgive yourself or forgive someone else for something that they have done to you, start with very minor situations, just little things that kind of irritate you, and just learn to let them go, learn to forgive, learn to detach that negative energy that you're putting out towards that person, move away from your mind and come down into your heart, so you can see that person as divine and sacred and for who they really are, which is a being of pure love. And so that's kind of my take on forgiveness. Just, practice that, start with small things and gradually build to bigger things till you're finally really able to let go of some of the big things that, a lot of the deep-seated anger, the deep-seated hatred or resentment that you feel towards people, because you are carrying that with you. No one else is carrying that with you. When certain events happened in the past, that was other people acting out of their own pain, and you have to learn to be able to see that in people, so you can come more from a place of compassion in your heart, and really detach from all of those things in the past which you're carrying on, because it is very hard to uplift yourself and ascend and move forward until you let go of some of these negative attachments from the past that you have. The analogy that I like to give is that all of us are ascending and moving towards higher places. The analogy is that imagine that you're in one of those big balloons that you're going to go flying up in. It's got the square carriage at the bottom, and they use the flame to inflate the big balloon, and you can go float up in the sky. Everybody wants to be elevated. Everybody wants to float up in that sky and see the world from a different point of view. And be enlightened and ascend, but that balloon won't ascend as long as it's tethered to the ground, and so the forgiveness detaches those tethers and those ropes to the past, which in this analogy are the ground, and actually lets go so you can ascend, so you can elevate. So that is my view on forgiveness. So thank you very much for watching the video, and take care.